Have you ever wondered why the more you awaken, the harder it is to find love? When a person begins to awaken, they start to see what they once blindly believed in. Relationships woven out of the fear of loneliness, the hunger for possession, and the longing to be validated. But once they realize that all of it was merely a performance in a play called love, the awakened soul suddenly finds itself standing outside the game, unable to pretend, unable to love the way it once did. And yet, is this truly a loss? Or the beginning of a higher form of love? A love where we no longer need anyone to make us feel complete, because we ourselves are love? Alan Watts once said, "When you understand that you are the universe looking at itself, you no longer seek another to fill the void." This is not a story of loss but a journey home, a return to pure love beyond all human entanglements. Most of us enter love not with awareness but with a performance. From the very first moment, we unconsciously choose the most lovable version of ourselves to present to the other, like actors stepping onto a stage, trying to convince the audience that the role is real. Alan Watts once wrote, "We seldom realize, for example, that our most private thoughts and emotions are not actually our own. For we think in terms of languages and images which we did not invent, but which were given to us by our society." In love, this becomes even more apparent. We do not love a real person, but rather the idea of them, a beautiful dream woven from our own needs and fears. Romance, the thing society glorifies, is in truth a delicate game where two souls agree to wear masks together to escape from the primal loneliness of existence. We learn to say the right words, perform the right gestures, and temporarily forget the vast emptiness within. In The Wisdom of Insecurity, Watts wrote, "The more we try to hold on to life, to possess it, the more it slips through our fingers. So it is with ordinary love. The more we cling, the more we fear losing it, and the further it drifts away from its natural beauty. When one begins to awaken, the fog of illusion starts to dissolve. They see the game being played, both in others and in themselves. They recognize that the lovable, mysterious, perfect version of a person is merely the surface of a far more intricate being, one both fragile and luminous, wounded yet infinitely capable of love. And once they see this truth, they can no longer pretend. They cannot continue to play the role of love as before, because all falseness becomes hollow in their eyes. The awakened person does not deny love, they simply refuse the illusions that confine it. They understand that true connection does not come from possession but from letting go. As Watts emphasized, when you try to control life, you destroy it. To love, you must let go. And therein lies the paradox of awakening. They love more deeply than anyone else, yet they cannot love in the way the world defines it. While others strive to keep love, the awakened one simply smiles, understanding that true love has never been a transaction but a pure presence, unconditional, unmasked, and free. When the curtain of illusion falls from the game of love, a naked truth is revealed. Humanity does not truly know who it is. We have lived so long in our roles, the lover, the child, the achiever, the charming one, that we've come to believe those roles are who we are. But when consciousness awakens, the entire structure collapses. And in that collapse, awakening shatters the performance of being human. Alan Watts once said, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself." The awakened realize that the so-called self is merely a temporary point within the infinite flow of existence. Every role given by society, family, or ego is but a mask the universe wears to play with itself. Once this is understood, they are no longer bound by the need to prove, possess, or seek a missing half to feel complete. In The Wisdom of Insecurity, Watts wrote, "To understand that there is no security is the beginning of wisdom." Awakening allows one to see that love, like life itself, cannot be guaranteed or controlled. True love emerges only when we let go of the illusion of lack. The awakened see clearly. They need no one to complete them, because they were never incomplete. They have always been, and will always be, part of the perfect whole. They no longer seek love as a means to be filled. They live in love as a state of being. They no longer search for love as a means of fulfillment, but dwell in love as a state of existence. In that space, the conventional notion of being in love, where there is need, possession, and fear of loss, becomes foreign. They love but not out of need. They connect but not in dependence. They are present but never acting a role. Alan Watts once said in Out of Your Mind, "The real you is not a puppet which life pushes around. The real deep down you is the whole universe." The awakened understand that when they love, it is the universe loving itself. Thus, they are no longer swept into the game of me and the other, but instead feel every form of life as an expression of the same essence. And in that surrender, they discover the deepest freedom from the illusion of being a separate individual. Yet the paradox remains. The freer they become, the more alien they seem among those still lost in their roles. When the mask of the self falls away, the awakened do not lose their capacity to love. They only lose the ability to love the old way. If love once meant exchange, pursuit, and the fear of loneliness, now it becomes a natural radiance of being. They do not love to be loved in return. They love because it is the only way they know how to exist. Alan Watts said, "Love is not something that is a sort of rare commodity. Everybody has it." Chicken Out of Your Mind. To him, love is not something to be achieved, but the very foundation of life, ever present, merely veiled by the dust of ego. When the awakened see through the illusion of a separate self, they realize that love cannot be divided, owned, or demanded. Their love no longer takes the form of you and me, of us and them. It is like sunlight, shining without choice, seeking no gratitude, radiating ceaselessly even when unseen. Watts wrote in The Book on the Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are, "Just as the sun shines because it is the sun's nature to shine, so the mind creates its world because it is its nature to do so. So it is with the awakened soul. They love not for a reason, but because love is their nature. They no longer say, 'I love you because you make me happy,' for they understand that happiness does not come from another, but from being wholly present in each moment. They no longer seek affirmation or reflection of themselves in another's eyes. Instead, they see themselves in everything, and everything in themselves." Watts once said, "To love oneself is to forget oneself and to let the universe flow through you." And that is the essence of awakened love, not an act of will, but a complete surrender of the ego, allowing life itself to love through them, allowing the universe to contemplate its own beauty through their hearts. Thus, for the awakened, love is no longer an act with an object, but a state of being, silent, vast, and unconditional. They do not need someone to love in order to feel love, for they are love itself. And therein lies the solemn, transcendent beauty of the awakened soul. They no longer belong to anyone, yet they belong to everything. When love becomes a state of being rather than an exchange, the awakened begin to perceive a profound paradox. The more they merge with the universe, the fewer people can truly meet them. While their hearts expand infinitely, the world around them still operates within its old boundaries, where love is attachment, fear of abandonment, and the game of me and the other. And thus they become untouchable. Alan Watts said in Out of Your Mind, "When you realize that you live in a world of illusions, you no longer take the game seriously." The awakened can no longer return to the old roles, for they have seen the nature of the game. They love humanity, yet are no longer trapped by the illusions that make love heavy. And so, others often perceive them as distant, not because of arrogance, but because they have transcended the mechanism that sustains ordinary love. They see the world of human romance the way an adult watches children play pretend, not with disdain, but with compassion and deep understanding. In The Wisdom of Insecurity, Watts wrote, "To remain stable is to be caught in a hopeless attempt to stand still in a world which is never still. The awakened no longer cling to relationships for a sense of safety. They understand that life is ever-changing and that true love cannot be confined. To them, loneliness is no longer a curse. In the stillness of their soul, they feel a profound connection with the entire universe, where no distance remains between self and other. Watts once said in the book on the taboo against knowing who you are, "You and I are all as much continuous with the physical universe as a wave is continuous with the ocean." And the awakened live in that realization. They are part of the infinite ocean, while most still believe themselves to be isolated waves. Thus, they are not lonely, yet they are often alone. They are not lonely, yet they are often alone. For few can truly meet them in that depth. Their silence is not an escape, but a form of pure love, a love that does not need to be understood, only to be. That is the tragedy and the beauty of the awakened soul. They stand among the crowd, yet do not belong to it. They no longer seek companionship, for they have found themselves in everything around them. And in that silence they smile, the quiet smile of one who has awakened within the human dream. In a world where people tirelessly search for the other half to complete themselves, the awakened one walks alone. Not because they reject love, but because they understand that true union cannot arise between two egos still entangled in illusion. Yet sometimes, in the vast flow of the universe, two awakened souls may meet. And when that happens, it is no longer a relationship in the ordinary sense, but a communion, a meeting of essences, without attachment, without possession, without expectation. Alan Watts once said in The Wisdom of Insecurity, "To be free from convention is not to spurn love, but to love in a different way, without grasping, without demand, without fear." The love between two awakened beings is exactly that, a love that needs no holding, no reciprocation. They do not come together to fill a void, but to reflect one another's wholeness. They no longer call it a relationship, something defined, confined, and labeled, but communion, a meeting of two open spaces, two frequencies resonating within the same current of being. Watts wrote in Out of Your Mind, "When you are truly awake, you do not cling to life, you let life live you." In the love between two awakened souls, they do not possess love. They let love move through them. There is no control, no strategy, no script, only presence, simple and true. Like two candles burning side by side, they do not merge into one, yet their lights intertwine, illuminating one another, and together brightening the room of the present moment. They know that every moment could be the last, and precisely because of that, every second becomes eternal. But as Watts pointed out, such love is exceedingly rare. In the book on the taboo against knowing who you are, he wrote, "The reason we cannot find love is that we are seeking it as something to be acquired, rather than realized as the truth of our own being." Most people still live within the illusion of separation, still searching for love as an external object to possess. Thus, two awakened souls rarely meet, because they are no longer searching. And the paradox is this: only when one stops seeking does true love appear. The love between two awakened beings is not beautiful in the worldly sense, but rather a state of freedom and absolute respect, where both are entirely themselves, unmasked, unbound, unconditional. And in that moment, love is no longer between two people, but between the universe and itself, expressed through two awakened hearts. When two awakened souls meet, love is no longer a journey to somewhere, but a state to live within. Yet strangely, the closer one comes to truth, the further one drifts from what the world understands as love. And this is where the cosmic paradox reveals itself. The awakened lose the ability to love as humans do, yet become love itself. Alan Watts once said, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself." The book on the taboo against knowing who you are. The awakened are no longer tiny individuals trying to love other tiny individuals. They are the universe gazing at and loving itself in countless forms. They do not love someone, for the boundary between me and the other has dissolved. Yet because of that, they become difficult to understand and impossible to be loved in the way the world knows. Watts wrote in The Wisdom of Insecurity, "The more we grasp at life, the faster it slips away." The awakened have stopped grasping, stopped seeking. They no longer need love because they have realized they are love. But in this absolute letting go, they become what Watts might call cosmically rich yet romantically poor. They look around and see the world still intoxicated by the theater of emotions, while they stand quietly, compassionate yet solitary in their understanding. They love everything, every person, every leaf, every breath, but no one can ever say, "That love belongs to me." And here lies the cosmic joke Watts so often spoke of. The game of life is not about winning or losing, but about playing, and realizing that you are it. Out of your mind. In this grand game, the awakened are those who know the rules, and thus can no longer play. The paradox is this: when you become love, you can no longer be loved in the human way. When you no longer need anything from anyone, no one can give you anything. Yet in that very loss lies absolute fulfillment, for they need no love to feel whole because they are the source of it. Through them, the universe loves itself, silently, effortlessly. And as Alan Watts said, to be free from the illusion of separateness is to become one with love itself. And that is both the ending and the beginning of every awakening, the point where love ceases to be a destination and becomes the very essence of existence. The awakened do not seek love. They are love. The awakened do not seek love. They are love, yet no one recognizes it, for the world is still endlessly searching for what they have already become. And perhaps that is the subtlest joke of the universe. As long as we search for love, we will never find it. But the moment we stop searching, love reveals itself everywhere, in every breath, in every ray of sunlight, in every glance we offer to life itself. The awakened do not lose love. They simply stop believing that love must come from someone else. They understand that existence itself, with all its joys and heartbreaks, is already the perfect expression of unconditional love. Alan Watts once said, "You don't look out there for God, something in the sky. You look in you." And in the same way, you need not seek love out there. It has always been within you, waiting for the moment you stop and see. If these words have touched something within you, pause for a moment. Be still. Breathe. Feel the love flowing through you right now. And if you wish to continue this journey with us, subscribe. For every message, every video, is another doorway opening deeper into the landscape of your own soul.